Good evening, Prescott Valley. Welcome to 2020. Hope we all had a happy new year. We are back to work with our Parks and Recreation meetings, so we will have a call to order with a roll call vote, please.
Chairperson Gummer?
Yes.
Commissioner Brinkman?
Here.
Commissioner Fallman?
Here.
Commissioner Byram?
Present.
And Commissioner Gorman?
Here.
Very good. Moving on, we'll have the approval of the agenda. Do I have an approval for the minutes from the November 12th meeting?
Well, you want the approval of the agenda first?
Let's do that first. Yeah, let's approve the agenda first.
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda with the notation that we're going to move item 8A up underneath 5 to 5B.
A motion of a second.
We have
I second.
Change. We have one more change to remove 7B.
That's correct.
We're going to move Mike up. He's been playing airplane.
And we're also going to eliminate 7B tonight,
right,
because our arborist cannot be in attendance tonight. So with those changes in our agenda, do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Next, we'll go to the approval of minutes from the November 12th regular meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the November 12th regular meeting.
I have a motion. Second.
Second.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on, we'll go to an approval of the minutes for the November 19th work-study meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the November 19th, 2019 work-study meeting minutes.
I have a motion. I have a second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Good. Moving on, we'll go to announcements. We'll start off with Brian with programs, classes, and special events.
Yes, sir. Staff has presented a number of slides for you tonight. So we're going to kick off with our spring sports that are going to be starting soon. Currently, right now, our spring volleyball session is open for enrollment. Players must be 15 years of age or older. Games begin the week of March 16th at the Glassford Hill Middle School. It is $150 per team, and we have co-ed A and B on Tuesdays, women's A and B on Wednesdays, so please plan to join us. Softball registration will begin January 15th. It's hard to believe we're already talking baseball, softball, and now adult softball right here in Prescott Valley. This registration opens again the 15th at 5 p.m. It's $270 per team. We have co-ed A, B, and C leagues that are playing on Sundays beginning March 8th. Men's A, B, and C playing on Wednesdays, March 4th, and all games are played at Mountain Valley Park. In addition, for those that are hoopsters out there, we have some 3-on-3 adult men's basketball, $150 per team, 15 years and up again. Games beginning Thursday, March 19th at the Glassford Hill Middle School. We have some other awesome programs that are available out there for folks, and it's quite a diverse portfolio of service. We have the Magic of Greens. This is a new class that's starting in January. Learn how to plant, grow, harvest, and create meals with microgreens. You can contact the Parks and Recreation Department for more information via phone at 75930 or visit us online to get more information, and you can also register from the comfort of your home at pvaz.net. We also have some adult exercise classes. This is Vitality Ballet for seniors and Latin Ballroom Fusion. These are drop-in classes with only $5 per class during each visit. We also have seated volleyball. This is a new fitness class starting in January. Not sure how to play? That's perfectly fine. Come out and enjoy our free demo on Monday, January 6th at 8:30 a.m. again at the Civic Center. For more information, give us a call or visit us online at pvaz.net. And we also have a Fight for Fitness. This is a new kickboxing and Taekwondo themed fitness class starting in January, designed for all fitness abilities and ages. And last but not least on our schedule is Daddy-Daughter Date Night. This has been a fabulous program over a course of a number of different years. We'll be hosting this event on February 21st as a fee base of $40 per couple, $20 for each additional daughter that you would like to bring. Registration opens January 1st, and you can get more information again online, and we would look forward to having everyone. This does sell out fast, so on a first come, first served basis, so we hope that you can join us.
Very good. You know, we've all made those New Year's resolutions to get in shape. And here the town is helping us
Speak for
all
yourself.
fulfill those needs. So take advantage if you can. Very good. Moving on, we'll go to our special guest tonight, our Department Master Plan update with Mike Svets from Pros Consulting.
Thank you so much, all. Appreciate the opportunity to give you the third installment or the update with regards to the master plan. Tonight is certainly going to be much more technical in nature in terms of the information that's going to be presented. So feel free to stop me, ask questions, provide any comments you have along the way, because some of the information may be in formats in which you're relatively new to. So, okay. So we're going to just kind of revisit the prioritized needs. We will certainly look at what we call levels of service, which is really how much park acreage, how much playgrounds, how many dog parks do you need based on the community needs and other data sets. We will look at this through a series of charts, but we'll also look at it through a series of maps to give you an understanding of where the gaps are, and then we'll talk about next steps. So just the community needs revisited. Again, we shared a lot of this information in November, but just to kind of reiterate, we kind of broke them out into high priority, medium priority, and low priority. Just as a point of emphasis, just because something's in the low priority doesn't mean you don't do it. It just means that the community is not looking for you to do more of that. And then we try to align, of course, park facilities and amenities with the prioritized needs related to the experiences that folks want. Again, all of this information is on the project website, and you can revisit it in detail as needed. But this is important information, and I show it simply because we want to align your Parks and Recreation system going forward with how people want to use it. So it's important to recognize that this is a foundational element of developing what we call levels of service. And then the art and culture programs and services, as we mentioned the last time, it's very much in alignment with what recreation is offering as well. So there's not, it's not that you're duplicating things, it's simply the fact that you are streamlined and synthesizing the information and resources that you have to provide the highest quality experiences to your community. So before we dive into levels of service, sometimes when we talk about parks and we talk about park acreage, we have a tendency to think about it in terms of a park is a park is a park, and that is not true. You have different parks that are meant to be designed differently and have different sizes, have different amenities to them based on the experiences and length of experience expected out of them. So these very much mirror, in the information you see, very much mirrors and or is aligned with the 2025 general plan. The first park classification is a mini park. Sometimes it's referred to as a pocket park, but these are really, really small acreages, really resting areas, may have one small playground to them, but usually not much larger than somebody's lot in terms of the lot that your house sits on. So that's typically what we see out of mini parks and the type of size that you get out of it and the experiences. It's a respite area, so to speak. Length of experience is 30 minutes. You're not really designing it for a whole lot of people to be using that at one time. A neighborhood park is that next level up, typically anywhere from a half to 10 acres, but usually 3 acres or greater. Length of experience is usually about 30 minutes to an hour, and it can have many of the same amenities that you see in larger parks, but they're downsized. Sometimes you have parking, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have restrooms, sometimes you don't. But they're designed in such a way that they're meant to serve a smaller geographical area of your community. Community parks, I like to call them neighborhood parks on steroids. They have a lot of the same amenities, but they're much larger in size. You have parking. You start adding athletic fields to them. Restrooms are a must, and simply they're in that 10 to 75 acre category. Regional parks, right now, you really don't have a regional park. But I think sometimes folks look at Fane Park as a regional park, and it's technically not based on classification. I know that there are future plans for, say, Agua Fria Park, upwards of 300 acres. Now that will be a regional park. It will carry a ton of different experiences. It'll almost feel like you have multiple parks, smaller parks, within one large geographical area. And the length of experience is typically, you could probably end up spending a whole day there. And so they're much larger in size. Special use parks are such things as standalone dog parks, standalone skate parks, and so on and so forth. The Civic Center area is a kind of used as another example of a special use park, because it's really designed as event space and doesn't intend to have a whole lot of different experiences to it that you see in neighborhood parks, community parks, and regional parks. And then open space conservation lands, this is kind of where Fane would fit in. It's really open space. It's conserved area. It's not meant to be consumed by the public in terms of a bunch of experiences. Yes, there are trails. Yes, there's a trailhead, but there's not much more to it. And the intention behind it is to preserve open space and to conserve land so that it doesn't somehow, some way get eaten up by development or creative development. You can go to California, you can see some of the hillsides. You can see how those hillsides get creatively developed, and in many cases it probably should have just been left alone and remained in conservation open space. But if you have money, I guess you can do anything, right? So that kind of sets the stage then for levels of service. So I just kind of wanted to brief you in terms of how we arrive at what we call recommended levels of service, which is basically how much of any one asset, how much park acreage within each of those classifications you should have. So one thing is current level of service, understanding the inventory that you have. Do you have to or do you not have to add park acreage or add playgrounds or add athletic fields? Your inventory may already suffice. So this is one thing that we look at. The current inventory and its existing conditions. Is it more important over the next 10 years for you to expand your system, or is it more important for you to take care of what you already have? So that's one other factor. Opportunity to acquire and develop parkland. So this is the parkland available, but also can you afford to purchase more parkland? So that's a variable. National Recreation and Park Association guidelines, they're just used as guidelines, as starting points, but we don't necessarily weight that very much. Recreation participation rates, emerging activities. So in many cases, pickleball wasn't even measured. It wasn't even on the radar 5-10 years ago, and now it is. And we see that through this report. We showed a couple of times ago market potential indexes. So where do you have the highest rate of local participation transportation and or any set of demand. Of course, the prioritization of community need, which I showed you, and financial sustainability. So there's not an algorithm, but these are all of the things that we take into context or we take into the decision making to understand how we create levels of service for you. Just as a reminder, you're currently at about 50,000 folks, and you are going to grow to about 95,000 folks. So when we talk levels of service, we're about trying to understand what your system needs to look like to keep up with the growth of your community in the next 10 to 15 years. And so it's not about necessarily what you need today, it's about what you need in the future. And we'll be able to draw some conclusions as we work our way through the next set of analysis in terms of prioritization of where you should start. One other thing, one major component of your community that is in many cases different is that you have a number of master plan communities. And so through the help of Brian and community development staff, we were able to identify location of each of these master plan communities. In other words, what's the geographical boundaries that make them up, but also the approved lots, how many of those lots are actually developed, what that percent of build out is, and how many people live in those areas. And so what we've kind of been able to do is say, well, what percentage of Prescott Valley's population lives in any one of these master plan communities? As you would expect, Granville is the highest at 14%. The entire list here makes up about 39% of your population. We looked at it through the lens of if all of the master plan communities, including Jasper, which isn't on this list because it's not developed yet at all, and Antelope Park, which is not developed at all, if all of those lots get built out in the current existing master plan communities and in the future, if they all get built out within the next 15 years, they're still going to be at about 39% of your community. And so the reason this is really important is to understand the impact that the master plan communities have on your parks and recreation system. Simply said, they offer park and recreation amenities, but in many cases, those to your residents, but in many cases, those amenities are private. So in other words, you have to live in that master plan community to participate in and use tennis courts or pickleball courts or swimming pools or recreation centers. So what we've done is to understand that we've captured all of that inventory within those master plan communities. We recognize that that inventory is only available to the residents, with the exception of, say, the pocket parks or neighborhood parks. But even so, even if we add all that acreage in, which is what we are going to do, folks who are intending to use, or the reason that you have pocket parks is really just for that small geographical area to use it. Nobody's going to drive from one side of town to Granville to use a pocket park, for example. It doesn't provide an experience above and beyond what you would have at a park closer to you. And so what we've done is we've taken a very strategic approach and said, based on the percentage of population within each of the master plan communities, that is how we counted then the amenities against your total park and recreation system level of service. So for example, Granville has, and this is hypothetical, but if Granville has a 10,000 square foot community center, and they have a few of them, it's only serving 14% of your population. So instead of counting all 10,000 square feet, we're going to count 14% of that against what you need in totality from a recreation facility, so to speak. Okay? So what we've done is we've identified your inventory, and this is just park acreage. So we've identified all of your inventory with regards to each of the park classifications. One note is that we have 3 columns: Town of Prescott Valley inventory. We have other inventory, which is primarily school district focused on tennis courts. And one of the reasons why you don't have tennis courts in your parks is because the tennis courts at the schools are available for public use. And then we have the HOA or master plan community inventory, but adjusted for percent of population served based on those quote-unquote privatized amenities. One thing to note is the open space and conservation lands are below your total developed park acreage. The reason being is we do not use a population-based methodology to determine how much open space or conservation land you should have. That is really about opportunity, and it's not necessarily you should have X number of acres of open space or conservation land in your community. You either have the opportunity for it or you don't. It's not that you're going to try to create conservation land out of land that should not necessarily be preserved as open space. But you have 100 acres of that, and that is where Fane falls in. So then we did the same thing with regards to all of the amenities. So you can see, for example, we have adjusted based on percentage of population. We've adjusted the HOA inventory down simply because those amenities are not available to your population as a whole. They're only available to Granville or Stone Ridge or so on and so forth. So we have adjusted those down to arrive at what we call a total inventory. The reason that this is important, because it translates into the next set of slides, which is what your current level of service is and what that recommended looks like. So from a park acreage standpoint, you have in each one of these categories. In the column to the left is each of the classifications of parks. The column in the white is what your current service level is. And then the column in the orange is what we're recommending. One thing of note, your 2025 general plan creates numbers of acres per 1,000 people for only 2 park classifications. They create it for neighborhood parks and they create it for community parks. And they create that at 3.4 acres for each one of those. Mini parks, regional parks, special use parks, all basically say variable. So what we've tried to do, though, is dial this in such a way that says we are still targeting 6.8 acres of parkland in whole for your per 1,000 folks for the Parks and Recreation system. The difference is that taking into account that you have potentially 300 acres of parkland associated with Agua Fria that is a regional park. It doesn't fit the neighborhood park or it doesn't fit the community park category. So what we have done is we have downsized the recommended levels of service for neighborhood parks and community parks for a lot of those same reasons, but created a number around the regional park that just so happens to match the amount of park acreage that you will need in 15 years, which also so happens to match Agua Fria Park, which is about 300 acres. So the 2034 standards basically indicate whether or not you need parkland based on having close to 100,000 people in each one of these categories, or whether or not you meet the standard. One other thing of note is that mini parks, the 2025 general plan really tries to move away from the development of mini parks because of their limited value to providing experiences. So we have adjusted your mini park mini park recommended level of service to understand that, you know what, you really shouldn't be building any more mini parks over the next 15 years. So we also went through an exercise of playing with the numbers that said, if we said, all right, well, we're going to try to keep the 3.4 acres per 1,000 people in the neighborhood park and community park categories, that would have jumped those numbers from 46 to 276 acres and 126 to 212 acres. It's not financially sustainable for you to add, let's just say a neighborhood park is 5 acres in size to 10 acres in size, for you to add 25 to 50 neighborhood parks to your system. Or to add, let's just say, a community park, which I think is based on impact fee and Arizona legislation, capped at 30 acres, for you to add 9 community parks. Number one, you won't have the land to do it, but number two, it won't be financially sustainable. And financially sustainable along with developing a close to 300-acre regional park. So we have kind of created these levels of service to really be customized for you to understand the community that you have and the financial sustainability associated with it, but also what the other horizons look like. And as you can see, we are not recommending a level of service for conservation lands. So then we turned around and did the same thing for each of your amenities. And you can see that in some cases, such as golf courses, now granted, many of them are not owned, none of them are owned by the town, but they're publicly accessible. You don't need any more golf courses in your community. And you don't necessarily need any more outdoor basketball courts. It's not to say that you don't need another swimming pool. It's not to say that you don't need a swimming pool. It's just that you probably need to focus on what are you going to do with the existing one to bring it up to snuff to meet the community's needs. But you're not necessarily saying we should build 2 outdoor pools. But in almost every other category, you can see that you have needs that will be needed to be met. And this is what this does is it kind of creates the foundation for, if you develop neighborhood parks, you develop community parks, you develop Aqua Fria, what are the things that are going to go in there? What is what the community wants? What is it that you need going forward? We also included the recreation centers down below. So basically, based on all of the HOA facilities, you have 0.14 square feet. What that means is you know what, with that square footage, you're serving about 39% of your community with that. And in many cases, some of those are just clubhouses. They're not even full-blown what we'll call indoor recreation facilities. So what we looked at in light of the fact that the town is having conversations with the YMCA, we looked at what is an appropriate level of service given that indoor facilities are high on the list, indoor swimming is high on the list, and also thinking about the typical size of facilities that YMCAs build. What should that square footage be? And we kind of landed on 1 square foot per person. That would mean 15 years from now, assuming, again, we can't make the assumptions that any of the other master plan communities are going to develop clubhouses or recreation facilities or so on and so forth, that you're at about 88,000 square feet needed. So what this does is it kind of provides a starting point for the YMCA to say, if you're going to build a YMCA, don't think that you're going to be able to get away with 40,000 square feet and serve your community, but you also probably don't need to have a facility that's 150,000 square foot either. So probably somewhere between 75,000 and 100,000 square feet will go a long way to serving the needs of our community well into the future from an indoor recreation perspective. Irrespective of philosophical approaches, that it provides then a good guideline, whether the town was to do this themselves or whether they were to partner with, say, the YMCA to do it. So what we've done also then is to take all of this information and map it. And so let me give you a brief rundown on what this looks like. So really what this is to provide an opportunity to say, you have all of these amenities in your system. How do they provide services to your community in terms of equity? So do you have gaps? Or do you have overlaps with regards to certain amenities? So basically, the quantity of inventory of each site is then extended into a circle until it reaches the recommended population that it should serve. So, for example, if we say that a dog park is to serve 25,000 people, in your community, that one dog park, we place it on a map and say, where does 25,000, where do we draw the line in terms of where do you reach 25,000 people to serve that dog park? That is, in essence, what we have done. So what you'll see is the circles will extend to, this is the service area based on population of any one amenity, and anything that doesn't have a circle on it basically means that you have gaps in your system. So one note is that we used a land use map to overlay all of these park amenities with the understanding that you can't put parks everywhere. So there's certain areas of your community based on how things are zoned that you're never going to have a park, and that's okay. But we wanted to make sure of that. So what I'm going to do is just kind of quickly run through a series. So one thing of note that we did is we also, you'll kind of see some brown blocks up there. Those are the master plan community areas. And so what we have done is to say that you've got a bunch of mini parks in Granville, but they're really only serving Granville. And so we're not using necessarily a service area radius for pocket parks or mini parks that will extend outside of Granville, because they're intended to be only used by Granville residents. But you can see that most of your mini parks that you own are on the south end of the community, and you do have some gaps up north. But again, I show you this with the understanding that going forward, we're not in the business of developing mini parks. It just kind of shows you where you have inventory right now. So from a neighborhood park perspective, you can see where you have neighborhood parks, and you can see where you have some gaps. In looking at the map, the primary location or color of location in which you will end up wanting to serve and having these green circles cover is going to be the yellow areas. Okay, because that is your residential. Your pink is your commercial, your gray is your industrial, and the others are really public facilities, so to speak. So you're not going to put a park on a fire station, for example, or on a school. From a community park perspective, you have better coverage, primarily in the center of town where the majority of your population is right now. Special use parks, again, some coverage, but you have opportunities to develop parks. If you're going to look at, basically, if you're looking at these maps and you think about what we said where you need acreage, what this does is it kind of gives you a visual representation of, if we're going to develop a special use park, we would want to develop it up north. We don't want to develop it in the same general area that we already have one. The idea is to provide an equitable, accessible park system to your community as a whole, and not have people travel from one side of town to the other because you're stacked with parks on one side or stacked with dog parks on one side and not providing it on the other side. And traffic, as you know, is only going to get worse as your population increases. So it's even more important to look at it through that lens. So we also map diamond fields that aren't lit. You actually have pretty good coverage with regards to these. Diamond fields that aren't lit obviously are not as productive as diamond fields that are lit, just simply because it limits the amount of time to when you can use them associated with daylight. Diamond fields that are lighted, you do have some pretty good coverage. And so it's not to say that you don't need to add them in the future. As your population grows, what happens with each one of these circles is they start to shrink in size because the service area becomes denser. You end up with more people living around those locations. So as of right now, we would say that diamond fields are not a priority for you going forward. You have good coverage, but it will become a priority, 10 to 15 years from now. So when you look at your diamond fields overall, you can see that there's pretty good coverage, whether it be lit or unlit. We look at rectangular fields, same way, not lighted. We look at rectangular fields that are lighted, and then we look at all. You don't have nearly the coverage that you do with the diamond fields. So if you were to look at expanding rectangular fields, it's likely going to be to the south at first and foremost. Off-leash dog parks, just one, smack dab in the middle of the community. And so I think we're recommending 3 more. I think there's pretty easy understanding of where to potentially put 3 more. North, south, and west. Outdoor basketball courts, this is one of those standards that you're already meeting well. So we're not necessarily recommending any more. Yes, probably on the very southeast tip, you could add one. But again, you're pretty well covered with regards to outdoor basketball courts. Sand volleyball courts, again, well covered. Reservable picnic shelters, a lot of them, but because there's only one of them, and and I think we're recommending one for every 2,000 folks. That's why the circles are so small, and you've got a lot of density in this central part of the community. This is one that, as you look to develop parks, I think we're recommending at least 5 more of these going forward. Pickleball courts, you're pretty well covered. The only caveat with this is that they're not standalone pickleball courts. They're overlays on tennis courts. And so you don't necessarily have just dedicated pickleball, and you don't have in some cases, dedicated tennis. And so because of this, we're counting this as 100% just pickleball courts. But looking forward, pickleball is becoming more popular. It's going to be one of those things that at some point you're going to want to create a 4 or 5 to 6 court complex that's just standalone, just for pickleball. Playgrounds, you have a lot of them, but they don't cover every part of your community. And so as you look to develop your park system further and add acreage, typically a playground is a staple of most park acreage. Skate parks, you're pretty well covered for now. Outdoor pool, as we noted, you're pretty well covered for now. Doesn't mean that you don't have to do something with your existing one, but in terms of quantity, you're okay. And then recreation facilities, you can see a lot of yellow. And this, I think, really shows the impact, or hate to say it this way, but lack of impact that master plan communities that have private amenities only for your residents have on your community, because the only ones that you see are the ones within master plan communities. There's several of them, but they're not accessible to the other 61% of your population that doesn't live in that master plan community. So it is accounted for, But we recognize that it's not meeting your community's need as a whole, which is also why the town is entertaining, the partnership with the YMCA. But if you didn't have them, at all, you would probably be looking at a need of 100,000 to 120,000 square foot facility. So they do have impact. It's just not overblown or overstated. And then disc golf courses, I left it blank because you don't have any. And I think it makes a point that you need disc golf courses, and probably the location for them at some point in the future would be Agua Fria Park. So, next steps, we're going to finalize the operations side of the shop, which is recreation program assessment, park maintenance, complete the capital improvement plan that takes all of the information that we just talked about, the park assessments, which we'll show the next time, and start to divide them up into that capital improvement buckets of, does this park just require life cycle replacement over the next 10 to 15 years? Does this park have opportunities to expand services? And then what does it look like to building new in terms of Agua Fria, all of the community parks and neighborhood parks that you would have going forward? And then, of course, how are we going to fund all of this? Which is always the key. So keep in mind, we're trying to align all of this information with the general plan. Obviously, some tweaks to it. We recognize that your general plan is through 2025, and at some point, the hope is that this master plan and the information associated with it will replace that 2025. You'll basically have your park and recreation element all ready to be able to just, drop in as a chapter in your next update. Questions, concerns, comments, suggestions? I knew it was going to be technical, but I appreciate you all hanging in there with me.
Well,
Makes sense?
I'll start out and just say I think that's outstanding. I think you've done an outstanding job. One of the big questions that you might remember that I had was, how does Parks and Rec fit in with all of the HOAs and the master plan communities? And I think you've really done an excellent job of bringing that home and making it really easy to understand and to help us in planning. So the needs that I see from your report too fit in, quite honestly, with, I think, the needs of we see almost every day.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it doesn't really click, but when you see it as part of the statistics and the plan going forward, it really makes sense. So thank you. I'm not saying the guys that picked Pros Consulting did an excellent job, but really, it's looking outstanding.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What an eye-opening report. I mean, if we thought we were on the right track, but seeing the layout of our community and saying, wow, we don't have anything here, everything is in the middle, has really opened up everybody's eyes this evening. And I think it's and then again, the surprising number of 39% of these HOAs that they're building, because they're putting all these wonderful amenities in just for those people.
Right.
But we're still not meeting the needs of the other people that have been living in this town before these HOAs even came about. So it was really an eye-opening report, and I am just excited for our future meetings with you, Mike, because it's just stunning how much we've learned in just one night of how we thought we were doing so well, and we're still going to need quite a bit in the future.
Yeah, really. I was following along in Chapter 8 of our 2025 plan, which of course is our Parks and Rec plan, and you have really, this is just going to be outstanding. You have really hit it on the head. So
I have one question.
Sure.
Said funding was in February, and I'm sure you'll get into the specifics of it, but will there be some type of tax involved to get funding going for these parks?
Well, I think it's premature.
But like, before you answer that, is my second part. Would it be kind of dicey with people from the HOA having their parks and then the rest of the general public having their parks? like how they come about and who's going to be able to be serviced there, because obviously the public can't be serviced at the HOAs. So could they equally have access to the public parks? If
Yeah,
see
I
where I'm
think
going with
it's.
that?
I think the one thing that's important to recognize is that the HOAs do provide some parks and recreation services to your community as a whole, or to those residents, but they're minimized. So, for example, you don't have athletic fields associated with the HO or the master plan communities, and those are typically the community amenities as a whole. You don't have skate parks, so what you have is you have very small parks. The largest park in any of the master plan communities that are private is just 4 acres in size, and I believe that's in Pronghorn. Most of everything else is just a small pocket park. So if people are looking for a park experience beyond a pocket park or a 4-acre neighborhood park, they are turning to your system. So, and I think again, your question is excellent in the way that how do you sell to the HOA master plan communities the need for an expanded public park and recreation system when there's an impression that all of their needs are met within their master plan communities.
Yeah.
The point is that they're not, because the amount of amenities and the type of amenities and the size of park acreage and even the size of the recreation facilities, they're sized appropriately for who they're serving. But there's still a lot of gaps associated with other inventory in neighborhood parks or in the HOAs. And I think I can go back this way and look at it this way. So let's pull this up. So let's look at the HOA park inventory. It's only in 2 park classifications, mini parks and 1 neighborhood park.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a community park or a regional park or a special use park, such as all of the special events that go on at Civic Center, you're not going to get that within the HO master plan communities. And then you look at the opportunities that you see within the other inventory. Yes, you do see golf courses, of course, but those are all publicly accessible. We counted those as a whole. But in terms of like playgrounds, those are pretty minimal, and they're small playgrounds because they fit on pocket park land, which is typically a half an acre to an acre in size. No rectangular fields, no sand volleyball courts, limited number of reservable picnic shelters, baseball fields, dog parks, and so on and so forth. So they're meeting some needs, but they're not meeting all the needs. So in other words, the master plan communities don't have what we'll call a full-blown parks and recreation system within that master plan community.
Right.
And I think the development community has done a good job of really honing in on what are the everyday needs that we can meet from a parks and recreation perspective for the folks that are going to live in this community. So working out trails, playgrounds occasionally, and so on and so forth. That's what they've focused on. But they've really left the door, I don't want to say left the door open, but they're still not providing a full-blown parks and recreation system within that master plan community.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Sure.
Lane?
Mike, I think that doing the circles really clarified and made it very easy to see where we need to build. Now, my question for you is, there are places where there is a need, however, that area has all been built up already. Do we have enough land within the town, or we have to annex more to fulfill the need for the 95,000 people that will be here?
And I think that is the opportunity that, quite honestly, I think Agua Fria provides to your community, because it will be relatively in the center of town. And it will be such a large park that will feel like it's, got 4 or 5 parks within it, or 4 or 5 very distinct experiences within it. That is one. I think the other one is through the development of neighborhood parks and community parks. So sometimes we think, okay, well, I guess the best way to say it is we always have a tendency when we look at these circles to focus on the middle of the circle.
Yeah, but
But
here's an
if you
example.
started to develop on the edges of those circles,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily need to just drop parks or amenities right in the middle of where you have gaps. They just go a long way to starting to fill the gap. You're never, in very rare cases, do you end up with a park and recreation system that has every amenity in every park type completely accessible to the community, which is why you want to have at least good geographical distribution and not have huge gaps in your system. The idea is to say that if, in looking at this playground map, it's pretty obvious where the larger chunks of yellow are.
Right.
And how you want to start to fill those with those green circles, or in Jasper's case, which is going to be to the west of Granville, that they're going to want to add some playgrounds in that area. And so this again starts to help inform Jasper in terms of what are the things that they should be looking to add as part of that master plan community. So it's meant to be a guide. It's meant to kind of tell that visual story, but it's not ever meant to say that everything should look green at the end of the day. You're always going to have gaps, partly because you can't develop every last piece of property in your community as residential and then lend itself to park development.
Any other comments, questions? Just one more comment is, I always thought we were competing with the HOAs for amenities, and I realize now that we don't have to compete with them because they are going to need the town for major amenities like you've been talking about. And these amenities that they put in mainly are just there to sell homes.
Well, and they do meet a need. I don't want to walk away from this thinking that the master plan communities don't meet a need. They do meet some needs, but they don't meet all the needs associated with an entire public park and recreation system.
Very good. Yeah. Any other comments? Mike, thanks so much for coming this evening. I know you've had a full day ahead of you, so we'd like to let you go so
I
you can maybe
appreciate that.
get home and see your
Started
family.
in Houston, so it's all good.
All righty. Thank you so much, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. We'll go to the department update. We'll go to the director's report with Brian.
Good to see you again. So as a matter of your packet of information, we have 2 months to cover, both November and December. I'm going to highlight a couple of those different items in regards to some of the activities that were going on there, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions, but my comments will specifically reflect some of the items that I've been working with. So of course we know the Boys and Girls Club, we had our grand ribbon opening and all those types of things, but the background story is in regards to facility rules, development, placement, of course also working with the Sons Charity Organization in regards to their donor wall, but also the signage. We were able to commingle a lot of that opportunity. So when you visited that day, before you entered into the gym, you see that pledge wall, if you will. And it lists out the facility rules that the Boys and Girls Club have, and then all of the Sons donors that were part of that program, which helped facilitate our gymnasium floor there at that location. I also presented to council and received their approval for acceptance of the National Association of Realtors and the grant award that went over at the dog park. Also presented the award of the Ramada contract for Santa Fe Station Park and those improvements, so that order is in place and construction on that item is underway. Sat down and met with the folks over at Yavapai Community College, and we have secured the National Men's Junior College Tournament. They'll be coming back to us again for our third hosting of this event, so very excited about that partnership with Yavapai College and the National College Junior Athletic Association, doing those things. In addition to that, as you heard from Mike, there's a variety of different items in play and development of his reporting the overall master plan, and a lot of those things that are in process now are relating to our programming assessment, our maintenance assessment, and then also some of our capital review of our current inventory for life cycling. So those reports will be coming forward, but we've been working on those for several months. And then also a review of the Fane Park mining exhibit with the Historical Society. So some of those elements, and we're looking at development of site and also the rehabilitation of some of those pieces of equipment, and also some acquisitions of additional equipment that are relevant specifically to the history of Fane Park and its mining endeavors there. Assisted or attended a coordination meeting with our Prescott Valley Chamber of Commerce as it relates to a renewal or a revitalization of our Battle of the Bands, which are remarketing now as the Rhythm and Brews event that will be coming forward. We'll have more information on that as it starts to grow some legs. Meeting with Sons and Boys and Girls Club in the renewal of their lease agreements for the gymnasium annex. Attended the town council seeking approval of the Santa Fe Station irrigation and landscape contract change order. This was related to the well site roadway that we installed, which is also a component of the walking path and its development. So if you've been by there lately, you see that that's already been accomplished and knocked out. So very happy with that contractor that we had, Mark Anderson Corporation, that came in, helped us with all of our flat work, helped us with the irrigation system that's out there. Turf is growing out there, so looking forward to a nice lush spring coming very soon as those things get underway. Also attended the town council meeting in support of our community development block grant application, that this will be tethered to the rehabilitation of the original Boys and Girls Club facility that we have there. So literally what that would entail is literally a gutting of that facility. That originates a long time ago. That building was originally built as our senior center and had a kitchen, operating kitchen in it, and all kinds of things. So it's got plenty of life on it, if you will. So what we want to do is go through there, literally rehab the whole interior of that project, upgrade electrical, HVAC, also make it more programmable space for our young people that are utilizing that site. We'd also like to look at a total rebuild of the parking lot. And then also in between the two facilities, there's a little courtyard area. So we want to turn that and enhance it so that it becomes an outdoor learning lab, as well as a little performance area and a nice secured environment out there for those young people. So those are some of the items that we'll be looking at for that community development block grant application that will soon be coming forward. We hosted the Festival of Lights, Create a Tree, Pictures with Santa, all those fun things here at the Civic Center celebrating the holidays. And we also, I think you saw on some of our social media out there, the town partnered with a fabulous company out there in regards to some holiday gift opportunities. So we had a lot of elves in the background with town staff, and we supported that endeavor by wrapping some of those packages that reached out to some of our young people. And boy, was there a mess of goodies, thousands of little items out there. So pretty cool opportunity out there. And in conclusion, I would also like to give a shout out to one of our park employees. Mr. Dan Smith, he has secured a new position out there, has left our organization, but Dan had been with us with a number of years, and we had a little celebration recognizing him as a department, so a little shout out to him. I know a lot of us had ventured out in the parks, had met with Dan, neat individual, and so we miss him, but also congratulate him for his new endeavor in life that he's pursuing right now. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on specifics on my report or the department's report as a whole. But we're quite an active bunch out there and a lot of irons in the fire.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to the chairperson's report. Now, Elaine, you know that I'm a big fan of surveys.
Yes.
That was a survey. So,
Nice.
so I was wondering, how do we gauge people's enjoyment of our parks?
Very good question.
Thank you very much. So a survey by the National Recreation and Parks Association is done each year to better understand the frequency and the ways that people interact with our parks and recreation. The 2019 edition of the study shows continued strong support for parks, recreation, and the Recreation Mission, NRPA's 3 pillars. 75% for health and wellness, 74% for social equity, and conservation comes in at 73%. The survey also shows that people visit their local parks and recreation facilities at least 2 times a month on average. People recognize and appreciate the positive impact of parks and recreation on their communities. Nearby access to parks and recreation plays a central role in finding a home. 85% of people indicated that having a nearby park, playground, open space, or recreation centers is an important factor in deciding where they want to live. As a matter of fact, 85% of people consider park and recreation programs important factors in choosing a place to live, thus the popularity of HOA communities that have many of the amenities that people are looking for. A number of desired outdoor recreation options for a community are access to secluded outdoor place that is quiet so they can relax and reflect, comes in at 87%. I thought, does this town offer that? Sure it does.
Sure it does.
Sure it does. Down there, you can go to Fane Park. A lot of it.
Some of even our smaller parks are very
Exactly.
peaceful, quiet.
And that's one of the highest things they're looking for. Places that provide scenic views of the nature around them comes in at 85%. We supply that.
Yes, we do.
Nearby access to lakes, rivers, and other bodies of water to fish or have other activities, 85% of the people want that.
And we support.
And we support that.
Yeah.
At 82% was trail networks for walking, running, biking, hiking, while 81% like to observe wildlife. We supply all that. 88% of people agree that local parks and recreation provide good opportunities to interact with nature and the outdoors. The people surveyed, 93% believe it is important that natural resources with parks, trails, and green spaces are there. The survey also finds widespread agreement among the general public that their local government, specifically 93%, indicate that it's critical that the local government should develop local parks, trails, and green spaces. 9 in 10 people agree that parks and recreation is an important local government service. The top reasons for people visiting a park are to be with family and friends, be physically active, and be closer to nature. 7 in 10 people want at least one park of recreation amenity walkable from their home. In closing, people highly value the work that park and recreation agencies deliver to their local communities and strongly support their mission. The public's strong support solidifies any case to local political leaders for more stable funding for parks and recreation. With our growth in Prescott Valley, it is important to recognize the wants and needs of our citizens. The master plan that is underway for our parks and recreation will be an excellent tool for the growth and needs for the future of Prescott Valley. As this report shows, parks and recreation is an important part of any community and should be recognized as a huge draw for people who want to live and play in this fast-growing community of Prescott Valley. So that's how I figured out how we kind of gauge parks, and I wondered, are we on track here in Prescott Valley with that? And I believe we are
That was a good report.
pretty well on track.
And I think Pro Consulting's reporting so far has really substantially said you're correct.
I think this master plan is really going to open a lot of eyes for all of us. Any questions, comments? Okay, moving on. We'll go to the tree advisory.
Oh, that's you, too.
So we have submitted for the 15th year for our Tree City Award, and hopefully we can fly it under our American flag here in the Civic Center when we receive it.
Way under.
And we are just kind of waiting on word, I guess.
Yes, we should be receiving word late January, early February. It goes through national review as well as our Arizona State Forester review. So once those checks and balances are made between those two agencies, then we are then followed up and notified. So hopefully I'm back in February or early March denoting where we're at. But yes, this would be our celebrating our 15th year introducing our Arbor Day program. So that's a pretty exciting time, and I believe it'll either be our 8th or 9th consecutive growth award process, and that's an item that has to be worked towards. Our Tree City is, of course, we have our ordinance. Of course, we also have a per capita spending requirement to facilitate that, and we also recognize Arbor Day. But beyond that, on our growth aspect of things, we're going through a variety of different programs, services, engagement opportunities, educational programs for staff. There are a whole host of different criteria, reviewing ordinances, planning processes, nurseries, what have you. So there's a variety of different components that are built into that. So those are items that aren't necessarily reached upon. And I'm very proud that our town and our department has been able to make that happen consecutively for quite a few number of years. So that's pretty exciting for us, and look forward to continuing that process and reporting back our accomplishments.
Very good. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm trying to think how to phrase it. So just part A, sorry I have a lot of two-part questions. So part A, what gives us the distinction for the Arbor, what's it, it's called the Tree City. So
yes,
just like with 3 bullet points real fast, like what allows us to be called a Tree City.
Tree City is basically you're completing your application to the Arbor Day Society. With that is that your town council supports that endeavor because of proclamation. They have also appointed a tree advisory board. We have ordinances support that, and also defending trees, if you will. I'm sorry, Commissioner Brinkman? Yes. Then the next big item is then a per capita monetary amount. That has to be $2 per capita of minimum financial support dedicated towards operation, maintenance, and perpetuation of trees in your community. And then also celebrating Arbor Day on an annual basis of doing that. So it's those combination of minimum requirements that gets us in the door as a Tree City USA community. We are only one of about 15 or 20 just within the state of Arizona. And not every community is willing to make that obligation.
It sounds amazing. You know, the cause, you know, it's good to support, you know, the nature with trees. I'm just curious, besides like an orchard, you know, where it's like an obvious display of trees, you know, doing what they do best, you know, bearing fruit and whatnot, how can we, you know, because if you surveyed 10 people, would they know, you know, the benefits of living in a tree city? Like, I live in Prescott Valley. Oh, our tree, you know, could they go on and on about what it's like to live in a tree city? And I wonder if we could increase that by showcasing, you know, the types of trees, or just something, you know, funky. I'm sure the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts can tell you all about the trees, but I just like to, like, this normal, like on a field trip, could middle schoolers and grammar school go out and,
right,
you know, really appreciate, what it seems that we try so hard to keep in town.
Right. We have a variety of different components to be able to achieve that goal. A is our annual Arbor Day celebration that we have. So what we're doing is we're engaging school-age youth, their family, those types of things. So we're constantly perpetuating that. We're teaching how to plant a tree, what the importance of trees are. Occasionally, as room permits, in our town news, which is something that goes out to all of our citizenry, there's little snippets in regards to the value, the importance, educational components, those types of things, in which we're sharing those values, that importance. Of course, we all know Prescott Valley. We look outside of our community and we search to find trees. So we find that value and importance in regards to providing that forestry, i.e., that's our version, or the Arizona version of an orchard, of being able to do those different types of things. And again, encouraging folks to do that if they have that opportunity in their backyard as well. As an example, I have a peach tree in my backyard, compliments of my little girl, and the grocery store. She happened to just plant a peach pit right in her backyard, and poof, unbeknownst to us, we have a wonderful sugar white peach tree in our backyard, doing those types of things. And we encourage folks to look at that. Also, in regards to our medians, you see Glassford Hill and the median improvements that occurred there, the variety of different trees, creating that atmosphere, that environment. I come from the Midwest. I don't have to think about trees. They're there. So it is very unique in regards to having this experience, and we're very fortunate we have climatology that works to our benefit, where we can have a broad, diverse aspect of those types of things. We also engage the schools on a variety of different occasions, not necessarily all consistent, but it helps enrich the conversations that are happening in the classroom. And at certain grade points in the school system, we have that. So we help foster with materials and education, and also programs that our Arts and Culture Commission helps support. And that's in regards to poster programs, in regards to the value and benefits of trees within your community. And then that's hosted down at the state capitol on an annual basis. So there are a variety of components, most definitely.
And you might mention that on Arbor Day, we hand out, 500 little
Saplings.
Yeah.
saplings. And so all of the kids, and sometimes we have hundreds of kids,
Yes.
they all can take those home, share them with the parents, plant them, try and grow them.
Correct.
And it's just an ongoing educational thing.
Yes, and that education comes tagged right onto those trees, so we help show them their ways and methods to be able to do that.
I was wondering, it seems I've read where also to be designated a tree city, we have to plant so many trees.
We do that as well. That's part of our growth program.
So if we plant like bunches, are we more designated, or do we have
No,
higher honors?
And that would be your growth award. That
Okay.
would be your higher honor in that opportunity in doing those types of things. So your tree city is kind of your base level. Your growth is your honors program, if you will. And so that is, again, there's a variety of components, but you do have to work for that. It isn't just a little simple
And
thing.
how are we on that scale?
Again, we've been doing very well. A component of tonight's discussion, if you will permit it, will be a convening meeting of our committee that we have, which comprises itself of the chair, the vice chair, staff, and then we also have a volunteer arborist to help give us review, insight, oversight, if you will. He has helped educate staff, provide services. He's also helped educate the public during a variety of different workshop opportunities. We've been able to help educate other members of the community in regards to businesses, in regards to the value and importance of how to maintain their trees. And don't do that again. Try this opportunity of doing those things. So a great value, great outreach, great opportunity in doing those services.
I'd like to make note that Arbor Day will be in April, and you're all welcome to come and see. That will be at the Santa Fe Park. And that'd be a special day for us to celebrate the 15th anniversary.
You are correct. As we all look out at Santa Fe Station Park today, there's not a single tree in there. And so that is going to be one of our goals, is to bring that landscaping element into the park, and planting trees that day is a big component.
Let's plant some trees.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We'll hit that goal.
And if anybody has any ideas to make Arbor Day a bigger celebration, let Brian know, let myself know if you can come up with anything at all that ties in with Arbor Day, because we do want to make this big and special this year.
Very much so, especially highlighting a brand new park. So,
A special park.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is.
In lots of different ways.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Moving on, we'll go to the advisory board meeting. So, like Brian has said, we will get together, we will set a meeting request, and the chair, vice chair, guest arborist, staff all meet, come up with our game plan for the next year of Tree City. And are we looking for a meeting tonight?
With that, with your permission in convening that meeting, what I'll do is I'll send out a meeting request with some tentative dates and times. Perfect. And then get that committee together so that we can then review 2020 planning, 2021 planning, and then if time permits, we'll start to look at part of a 5-year forecast as well too. Different components. The beauty of that is that it allows staff to begin facilitating partnerships or review with other departments that could benefit or be impacted by or participate directly with, so that we can work to meet that honors program with our growth award on a regular basis, because my goal is that every year both items are achieved, our renewal as well as then our honors program in doing that. So if you're good with that, and the members of the commission, I would just seek that permission to go ahead and convene that group, make those invitations out there, as well as then also schedule our guest arborist to introduce him to you at next month's meeting, and again kind of have some of those general discussions. Mr. Dillard actually was one of you. He's a former Parks and Recreation Commissioner, but his professional background and knowledge base is in regards to arboriculture. So it would be very handy, and because there are a number of you that are new here on our commission, is just make that friendly little introduction and gain some knowledge from his perspective as well too.
And he is very knowledgeable.
Yes.
Very knowledgeable. So if nobody has any problems with that, I think we're all good with you to come up with some dates and send them out.
Happy to.
Very good. Moving on, we'll go to the Santa Fe Park construction updates.
Yes, just wanted to give some quick review of some items that are going to be coming to pass for us. Anticipating at the end of this month, first half of next month, that our new restroom facility will be in place. Being brought in there. This is a project that's very similar to that of Bob Edwards. It's going to be a 2-section facility. It'll be brought in on a couple of semis and then craned over, set into place, conjoined, and then hooked up. So literally within a day, 2 days, we have a full functioning facility. The beauty of that is it has a nice healthy warranty program to it. It is designed and built for industrial purposes. And if you've had the pleasure of going out to Mountain Valley Park, it's a very bright, open, airy, pleasant experience utilizing an outdoor public restroom from that standpoint. So very excited. Yeah, I know. How can you get excited about bathrooms? I do. And
Did
doing
you say
those
the
different
end of
types of
January?
things. Should be the end of this month, first half of February is what we're anticipating. What we have is we have plan set approvals that go in via the state. Then there's about a 10-day construction period once those submittals are approved. And then literally after that, it's delivery and install. So what staff is doing is making the connection with all of those utilities. You've probably, if you've driven by on Glassford Hill Road and Santa Fe Station, you're seeing some under the road boring. That's APS. They're bringing power into the park. And then with that addition, we'll also be connecting up the sewer and water utilities. So we're making those plans as we speak right now. We want to have them in place, inspected, approved, ready to go. So literally the facility just comes right down around it, and then the internal connections are made and it's in full operation. So
Ryan,
that
do you
is
know if there's-
exactly what we're anticipating.
Are there going to be mirrors in the bathroom?
I apologize because I really don't recall if we have the reflective stainless on these or not. Everything else, though, is high industrial grade sinks, lavatories, urinals, partitions within the restroom. It's well lit. It's got the anti-micro materials that are built into it, full integrated system, hand dryers, changing stations, the whole bit.
You know if they'll have heaters for the winter?
Yes.
Heaters in the winter.
Yes. Doing that. And this particular unit has not only a ladies, a men's, but also a family
Good.
open gender facility to it as well.
I know a lot of restrooms try to be paperless. Will it have paper dispensers, or will it
It
try to
will
be a
only
Dyson Air?
have the toilet dispensers. Everything else will be electric hand dryer, so no paper towels or anything like that. Yep. Makes for a clean operating environment.
Plus, for some reason, our parks always seem to get vandalized whenever
Yeah, that's why I asked about the mirrors.
So
we
this
put
has a
certain
very
things in,
strong
it's-
process.
vandalism is always rampant.
Yeah. We are then anticipating at the tail end of the month of February, because the restroom is in place, then our Ramada installation can happen. Once the Ramada is installed, and then also its concrete floor, all of the connecting sidewalks to all of those facilities will be completed. So we'll be in good operating standards there. I mentioned the turf earlier. We'll have a reseed in the spring. So that'll probably occur right before Arbor Day processes, so we can have that thickening of that turf. We'll probably do it again probably midsummer or early fall, just again to get that fully established and have the complete full in there. Park signage is going up. That'll be at the entryway off of Santa Fe Loop, so you'll see that as an added item. And then we'll be making preparations in next fiscal year requests for the remaining site amenities and additional landscaping elements out there. So that will be one of those items we'll be reaching out for with hopeful support for its completion. So that's where we're at right now. Of course, there's additional phases down the road that will be tied to our future, and so I don't have timelines on those in regards to the extended walking path or the remainder of that property, because that property going to the north, or excuse me, to the south of what the well site there, that is still in ownership with Universal Homes and the Granville Homeowners Association. So it is just the developed section that you see as it is today. That is your park site that's in the town's fold and its operation. So the intent is, and the expectation is, as those opportunities come forward for development and expansion of the park, it will facilitate itself all the way to the south and tying into that roadway right there. So, but I just wanted to give that reminder and information out there for us.
And in completion of bathroom remodel, we will plan a ribbon cutting.
Yes. So with that, because again, we're looking at the tail end of February, first part of March, probably looking at a mid to late March for that ribbon cutting event, well ahead of our Arbor Day celebration that would be coming in April.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Santa Fe? I know it's anticipated. It's already busy out there.
Yes, it is.
It's a park that isn't even done yet, and it's already being used. So again, that just shows what people want in our town. They want more parks.
Correct. And I appreciate everyone's flexibility with us, because there are times and moments, restroom will be one of those moments, where we'll have the park temporarily closed so that we have a safe operating environment out there, but it'll be a very limited closure process. In doing those types of things, we'll probably go through the same scenario for the Ramada install as well.
Very good. No more questions, comments. We'll move on to new business with the AZGFD Heritage Grant application.
Yes, sir. We've put together about a $10,000, $15,000 grant application with the Arizona Game and Fish Department and its Heritage Fund. So this is a great opportunity for us. The beauty of this is, as we all know, the Parks and Recreation in the town of Prescott Valley is in a partnership program via the community fishing experience and opportunity. We have 2 sites here in town. We have the Urban Lakes in Mountain Valley Park, and then we also have Fain Lake over in Fain Park. What we're trying to do, and it was an item of discussion as well as encouragement by the Fisheries Division, that we, through part of their studies and testing and review of each of those bodies of water, that we work to supplement oxygen levels, circulation opportunities, and those types of things. So what we have done is we have submitted a grant. Hopefully we'll know sometime late March, early April of how successful we were. And if we're able to do that, we'll be buying some new pumps, aeration devices to be able to help us out. One of those is that we'll be able to have a fountain, a replacement fountain down at the urban lakes, so that if we do have, and we've all experienced this when monsoons come in, all of that material, it's a pass-through body out there. And we get a lot of foreign materials that come in, and those materials sometimes get sucked up into our fountain systems, and now we're down and out with our fountain systems and aeration. It's very, very important to be able to recapture that. So this will give us an on-the-shelf fountain, if you will, that go-between moment of experience, so that we can get that recapture and keep a higher level of operation out there. We're also looking at making some improvements out at Fain Lake so that we're able to have a good turnover rate in regards to the waterfall. We've got a bubbler out there, those types of things, making those positive enhancements out there that support our partnership with our community fishing program. So a good enrichment opportunity here being afforded to us, hopefully, through the Heritage Fund grant opportunity with Game and Fish.
So you can fish in Fain Lake?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
Do you have to have a permit?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
So our bodies of water are governed by our state conservation rules. So yes, there are certain age requirements that you have in which you would have to have your license. There are also some free fishing days and some programs in which you would not have to have a license, but you need to be savvy about those because it's not every day.
Sure.
But the beauty of that is you can go online.
Okay.
There are different price points in regards to acquiring a fishing license. It's even open to non-residents of the state of Arizona, but it does come at an additional price. They're good for a 1-year period of time. And so that would provide you access not only in our community, but throughout the state of Arizona as well. We've got trout and catfish over at Fain. We also have a few sunfish that are there. At the urban lakes, it is 100% a catfish experience there. And if you go to the Arizona Game and Fish's website, they do produce, I believe, I can't remember if it's quarterly or biannually, a schedule of stocking for all the bodies of water that are part of the community fishing program, and each one of our lake areas will be listed on that, and it'll denote what species and during what general period of time. Okay. We don't operate it, manage it, or dictate it. We're a participating party.
And that will be the busiest day at the lake, the day they stock.
I've never seen anyone
Just have
fishing
your
there,
net
so
right
that's
under
wonderful.
Just put your pole right into the truck. And
It's actually a lot of fun. So I would encourage, if you happen to be able to experience that, take a little time.
yeah, it is fun to watch.
Yes, it is a lot of fun.
Any questions, comments? And you can get a fishing license pretty reasonable, Walmart, sports.
Yes, and yes, you have
any of the
a variety of Dick's Sporting Goods, Big Five, Walmart, those types of, Sportsman's Warehouse, those types of folks will be able to assist you if you'd like to buy directly, but you can get it right online.
And when you get a fishing permit, it's good for all the lakes?
Yes.
I take it. Okay.
It sure would be.
And isn't one of our Arts and Cultures Commission members has a record fish?
Oh, he's a big-time fisherman. Matter of fact, he has some of his species that he had mounted are on loan in Sportsman's Warehouse. So
Wow.
Mr. Andy Sinclair
Star among
is a very savvy fisherman.
Yes.
Dedicated.
Yes.
Very, very much so. He enjoys our parks and definitely fishing. So
Good.
And when you look around, you see quite a few people fishing. Urban Lakes, Fane Park, it's one program we stepped up and got hold of, and it's taken off.
Yep. So either get really excited or get really scared in April when our Gold Fever Day / Badges and Bobbers event takes place,
Hey.
because that lake is a poppin'. Big
Okay.
time. Hundreds of young people are out there and adults
It's a fun
participating in a very, very fun and exhilarating program. We loan out well over 100 poles. We have all kinds of prizes, activities, and it's all done in partnership with our first responders. So we have state police, we have sheriffs, we have Prescott Valley Police, we have firefighters.
The community gets together.
It's huge and it's beautiful, and we're trying to teach and educate and support and hopefully grow a lifetime experience.
Yeah, cool.
And it's fun to see those kids when they catch their first fish.
Oh, yeah. I was a fisherman as a kid.
They don't care if it's big or small. They reeled in a fish.
Yep.
Okay, no more questions, comments? We'll go on to other. Anybody else have anything else? Hearing nothing, we'll go on to unscheduled public appearances. I don't think we'll be having any this evening. Our next meeting will be in February the 11th at 6:30 right here in this auditorium. And if there's nothing else, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Did we mention a February 20th
No,
date?
you didn't mention that yet.
Oh, can I add one thing to other before we adjourn?
Sure.
I would like to invite the commission as well as the public, if they would like to join us, out at American Legion Park, 4:30 p.m. on February 20th. And we will be hosting our ribbon cutting out there. The commission has known for a while, we completed our new Ramada out there at that location. And so it is one of the main items that are there. We've gone on a number of years doing revitalization projects related to playgrounds. American Legion is one of those future designated locations, so we're hoping to be able to see that happen sooner than later for us there at American Legion Park with a new upgraded playground. But that would be its last and final element that really needs to be touched upon. We're very excited. We'll be showcasing the Friends organization. They're the ones that have been able to help us financially, as well as also bridge partnerships with different folks in our community. Our Young Marines group, the American Legion themselves, Kohl's department stores. They've helped us with grants. We've hosted Arbor Days. We've done a whole host of things over there in totally transforming that park site. And so we've reached that point in time where we believe with the new Ramada that we're there. So we're going to celebrate those successes. We're going to celebrate the gratefulness and support of the community and all the different organizations and folks with that ribbon cutting on the 20th of February.
And what time?
4:30 p.m. And I will have a formal invitation coming out to you all.
Okay.
Good.
Alrighty, so thank you. I appreciate that opportunity for other.
Thank you. So hearing nothing else, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting of Tuesday, January 14th, 2020.
I have a motion, a second.
I will second.
A motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, Prescott Valley. See you next month.